Hey, and welcome back. We are going to be talking about some stats today. I think it was a little bit surprising when we were out on tour, and we get emails with data updates all the time. But it's Tyler Reese and Tyler Loebertmann with North Star Pro Realty here. Going to have an open discussion about. Tyler, I want you to introduce this because you've done the research and you came up with a couple of key points that we want to talk about today.
Yeah, so we were kind of chatting about it and led into just doing some research on it. But average age of a first-time home buyer, got some conversations going with a rather young couple right now, and then also some that still, people we graduated with and stuff that still have not had their first home. So looking back at some data, and I went with national data just because it was right there and easy for part of it, but then also just gives you a broader spectrum as to what it is. And we kind of had our conversations and our guesses, and I think we had somewhere around 30 and 35 and mid 30s as a number, as us being in the industry, kind of knowing that timeline is moving up a little bit, or the people are aging a little bit more before they buy their first home. National average median age for first-time home buyers right now is 40. 40. I thought that was pretty impressive. I thought that was an age that was much further along than what I would have guessed along the way. So,
And don't get us wrong, we're not age shaming whatsoever.
right.
Like stats are stats.
Yeah.
When we break it down, because I was in flows.
Yep.
Let's kind of build it back on storytelling, because
Yeah.
I really like that, because it might be pertinent to those people. When we hear 40, we're thinking like, oh, that seems shocking to us. As
Right.
now I'm almost 39. You are.
I just turned 40. I shouldn't say just. I'm almost 41 at this point.
Right.
We'll say just turned 40.
Yeah, that was a passive aggressive. Happy birthday early, Tyler. But when did you buy your first house?
I was 19 years old when I bought my first house. I was just kind of eager for the next chapter and was ready to begin home ownership. And that's, my parents bought at a young age, and some of the people around me bought at a young age. And so I graduated high school, and the next thing to do was buy a house, right?
Yep.
That's what I knew, or what I thought I knew anyways. Turned out that it worked out well for me. But that was when I had bought my first house. So you're used to the life that you live, right? What you did is obviously what happens,
Yeah.
But people go to college and they start their career, and maybe they have a pile of student debt where the smart move is to rent for a while and dig yourself out of that, or whatever the situation is, where it makes sense to kind of lay low on the home ownership side of things a little bit. And so those are the numbers we're seeing, right?
Yeah. And it's full acknowledgement of just people, again, people have different paths,
Yes.
which is totally fine.
Yep.
It's just kind of building what the stats are saying to us. I was 22, maybe I was just about 22 when I purchased my first home. Again, and we've been in a couple of step up, build some equity, sell it, do that a couple of times. And I would consider our forever home. We really enjoyed there. But when we're talking about this, is not to be discouraged if you're 42,
Right.
50, or 25.
Yeah.
As far as home ownership goals goes, there's some other stats right there as far as average age of second home buyers, or like that. What was the term on that sheet?
So the median age of all buyers
That's
was
what it was.
59, and then followed very closely with that, the average age of a repeat buyer, meaning a second home or beyond, is 62.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the age, as you get into median age of all buyers and repeat buyers, obviously those numbers are going to get tighter together. But the movement from 40 to 59, and then again at 62, every one of those numbers were surprising to me. Because a lot of times, again, in the surroundings that I have, my family, my friends, they bought their house and they stayed there forever. You bought your house that you're going to live in.
Yeah, my parents are, they're in their second home, but they've been in there for 39 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's just kind of fun when you reflect on that. I think you guys are kind of getting an understanding. For myself, I love data. I love analyzing it, and just, you have your gut feeling as one, but the data is where the drive is, right? It's what's factual and actually happening. So you get into conversations with people that are, 30 years old or early 30s, and they're going, man, I'm behind. I missed my mark. I'm not doing what everybody's doing. You're not. If you're even talking about buying a house in your early 30s, you're ahead of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in your 20s and talking about doing it, you're, half the age of what the average is. And it's not saying it's right to do at 20 and it's wrong to do at 50. It's got to be circumstantial, right? It's got to make sense for you. That's the only right answer, right?
Yeah.
So.
I'm a big proponent on what home ownership. Now, people are like, oh, you guys are just real estate agents, want to sell houses. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
But I'm actually a bigger believer in kind of what stabilizes a community.
Yeah.
What stabilizes, wealth building. There's a lot of data behind, home ownership is one of those two biggest stabilizers of, how quote unquote well are you doing in life as far as just stability goes. And that is, it also builds good communities, of stable communities where, you don't want anything too good, too bad. You just, you want stability. And home ownership is one of those key factors. Now, we also talked about kind of what's driving, that number up.
Yeah.
And affordability comes up.
Yes. Affordability is a big thing. And then I will say even amenities with rental of what you get, right? But affordability is huge. I mean, you get into every year, I shouldn't say every year, but traditionally every year the houses appreciate just a little bit, right? And so a little bit this year, a little bit next year, and eventually it scales up, which kind of goes back to your point of building wealth and equity. Is like over time, history shows that there is a gain in having some home ownership and getting some equity there. But with that, and then you get into interest rates that go along with that. Now, home ownership in 2026 is looking a little bit different than when you were 22 or when I was 19, right?
100%.
So we were in a different chapter, living and working a different game, so to speak, right? It was different. Now you fast forward from that time to now, and in 2026, you've got really nice, price-wise, premium new construction going up. You have homes that have appreciated over the years, but you don't have as much, anyways, of the very simple first house that's just going to get you started, just going to get your feet wet in the world of home ownership, right?
Yeah.
We've had a couple that were, sub 300 for new construction, nothing fancy, nothing elaborate. But as a first home, your first home was not super elaborate and fancy. My first home was certainly not, fancy and elaborate. And with that, I think people are starting to move into apartments and stuff where they have their pool, they have their workout center, they have their underground heated parking.
So many nice apartments out there.
Like, wow, that's hard to replace. You're spending whatever that monthly cost is to live there. But to go and purchase a house doing that same thing, it's $1 million house, right?
Yeah.
And that's not a first-time home buyer house. So I think the wants/needs have scaled up a little bit too. That has made the affordability a little bit harder as well. I was just looking at a home, actually a condo, with a couple over the weekend, and the condo was a $170,000 condo. Not super fancy, not elaborate. And this couple was just super excited that it was not fancy, not elaborate,
Right.
But it was not renting. And it was just like, okay, the feel good. Like if you want to own a house, it's different, and not everybody has that or wants that. And that's okay too, right? That's why there are apartments and stuff. But to get into, I'm renting a nice place over here, or I'm buying a mediocre place here, but this buying is just to get me to that next thing that I actually want.
Yeah.
The people that have that vision, that idea, that's different. I mean, and that's where I relate to a lot more than I'm just going to rent until the next thing happens, as opposed to having a plan, I guess maybe is a little bit there.
Yeah. And again, because you can peel back any onion here and dive down whatever rabbit hole we really want to. But again, ultimately is when I talk to people, and I would say there's a attitude sounds even kind of aggressive. It's
Right.
amazing we live in a world we have to choose our words so
Yeah.
carefully, but I'm going to use it. There's an attitude of, well, I want this, and this for this much.
Hmm.
And well, they just described what their grandparents have or what their parents have,
Right
which
now.
took them 40 years to get.
Yes.
It is, and they took it step by step. The some, I would say generational buyers, younger generations, they do want to be at that end because they've been accustomed to, even excellent dorm room living if they went to a really nice college or anything like that. They,
Yeah.
they haven't embraced that starter home.
Yep.
That, hey, this is not my forever home. Now people are staying longer, in there. It used to be like 7 years. Every 7 years people would move. Now it's like closer to like 10 or 11.
Hmm.
But they're not embracing that. But it's also, that's when they start to maybe feel behind if they haven't purchased, is because they're kind of wasting money on rent. Now, again, not all renters. It's just like, if home ownership is your goal, you may have to make that sacrifice and maybe house hack a little bit.
Yeah.
And, put in that entry level of, maybe a little bit outside your geographical location. Maybe it's not as big as you wanted, or, maybe it doesn't have those amenities, but the next time, you go to sell and then bump up to that next one, you get to be a little bit more choosy because you've got a little bit more equity to work with.
Yeah, and the homes, at least as a first-time home buyer, in a lot of cases, that is just a stepping stone, right? It's like, you don't need it to check all the boxes right away. So, in our conversation this weekend and looking at this condo, is like, this allows you to get the house that you want next time. Hypothetically, I mean, nothing's set in stone, right? But we're not looking at homes in this category. We're looking in this category. So A, you're not spending as much, but B, you're able to build that equity and that, the cash reserve, ideally right alongside that. So you have more of a down payment for the next place as well. You and I both have lived in pretty simple homes along the way, and we loved the chapter of life we were in, but the home, I can't say I loved the house that the curtains were blowing in the winter time, that we put the plastic over the windows to try and save some of the heat, right?
Yeah.
So
I would go back to my first house.
Yeah.
Like if like I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked the floor plan. It would probably be, we'd really feel tight now with a big dog and 3 kids that are bigger. But I really enjoyed it. But it was a new construction home that had never been lived in.
Yep.
So it wasn't the we need to put plastic on these windows to prevent the north wind from coming in.
Yeah.
But sorry to derail you there.
No, that's all right. And for clarity, my first home was also new construction and similar timeline for build, but they were very simple and not much to it. So it was actually my second house that was the one that needed the windows and everything.
I forgot you lived somewhere else first.
Yeah, right. Yep. But yeah, that was the house where I'll never forget a guy by the name of Bob Guzzo came as a window and siding installer, and I was looking to get a quote for what it was going to take to get new windows and siding. And a guy that makes money selling windows and siding looked me in the eyes and said, "Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure this is a good idea to put money into this house? What if we just leveled it and started over?" I'm like, "No, I kind of like this place."
Yeah.
So we've moved forward with it. But those are the type of, you had said house hacking and stuff, the type of things that, I think some people in some generations and stuff kind of forget that the people that had, for your instance, your grandparents or whatever, the people that have the place they're in now, they didn't start there. They started in some other situation, whether it was a simple trailer house or a house that needed a bunch of work. And
or
you go to
roommates,
exactly.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. You go reflecting on that and you talk to any of those people that had that, most times they're like, "I loved it. It was great." I mean, to your point of your first house and my homes along the way, I was like, man, it was great chapter of life. It was great stories. Wouldn't change a thing about it. Wouldn't necessarily go back to that, but wouldn't change a thing about it. And that's worth reflecting on when you're thinking about your first house too. It's like, you're going to enjoy and live wherever you're at. It's just one of your chapters of life. And I think getting to, whether it's 40 or 20 or 60, whatever it is, when you're buying your first house, getting to the point of having your house, having that wealth, opportunity, having the just the feel good. I mean, there's something about owning a house where it's yours, and man, there's a success in life, in my opinion, in
Yeah.
doing that.
I'm going to share mine. I want you to share yours.
Yeah.
That first day you closed on your house and you walked in your home
Yeah.
without your real estate agent for
Yep.
the first time, and it was yours. It is. I'm getting goosebumps right now because it's like, am I supposed to be here?
Right.
Shut the door. We're not heating the outside.
Yeah.
Like that type of deal. Well, he became my father.
Yeah.
But yet it's different.
Mm-hmm.
It feels different than walking into a rental. It's different. It's different waking up in the morning and you're like, oh man, this is wild. Like I felt like so proud and like, oh man, I really accomplished something. And that happened in the second house, and then in the third house, the one that we're currently in.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I sold these. I do not have 3 houses, but it was just that major step. I mean, it's kind of an indescribable feeling until somebody totally understands what you're talking about. Maybe you had that similar experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my first house was in Clearwater, born and raised in Buffalo, and I didn't have any interest in living in Clearwater, but my wallet did.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So, as the first house, it was like, all right, I can afford this much or willing to afford this much. And therefore, what options do I have in that regard? Right. So that brought me to Clearwater in a new development on the south side of the freeway. It was a great house. It was, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house with an unfinished basement, no deck, no landscaping, none of that stuff. And man, was I excited to get sod and landscape, materials and all of that stuff that took this average normal house into what was mine, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have money for a deck, so I didn't get a deck.
Yeah.
I only did certain things as I could do it, but I was, financially smart about it, I think, of getting to a point where it's like, okay, I can do this, I can do that, and making my own. Paint was cheap, so I kind of made it my own that way. But yeah, to your point of walking in and, basically for me, it was right when I pulled up with my trailer full of stuff that wasn't worth anything either, but it was also mine. Like all of this stuff in here is mine and it's going in my house.
And you're like, this is all of my stuff.
Yeah, literally all
fit
of
on
it.
a trailer. Yeah.
Funny side story with that, as we were heading to our house, I ended up buying my first house with my brother. We were both looking to do something different. And so we bought the house together. We packed everything we owned into a borrowed truck and a borrowed trailer. And my brother was driving, and he just about lost the truck and trailer. We got going a little fast. Ooh. Trailer brakes didn't work. Fishtailing. I can't believe he pulled out of it, but he freaked out because he just about crashed and got hurt. Whatever. I wasn't thinking about him. He pulled over. I'm like, "What are you doing? You almost wrecked everything we had." And he's white as a ghost, because he just about crashed. And it was just one of those times where it's like flashback of like, holy cow, just about lost everything. Yet we got up to the house and we got there, got inside, look around. I'm like, this key in this hand is mine. It's like, and we're living this and doing this. And I don't know that is a feeling that everybody wants, desires, needs, or would feel. So I totally understand that some people are just renting and doing that type of stuff. But to your point of if you can relate to it or know it or are jonesing for it, as going into the first time home buyer, I can tell you it's an amazing feeling, and it happens with every purchase that you make. And to your point of the step up homes and stuff, you get to where you're at now and you sit on the front porch and you're like, this is still mine. It's mine, and it's closer to all mine, as opposed to the banks with a little bit of value in it, so as you grow into that, again, to your point, we're biased in the real estate world, I suppose, because we're agents, but we're not agents and then like houses by chance. We love homes and we love the interaction of homes, which has got us to the role that we're in. And it's why I will selfishly say we're good at it, right? It's because it's what we live and breathe for. But you talk to anybody, talking about their portfolio and the value that they have. Home ownership, real estate, there's a line item for real estate on most people's portfolio, right? It's it's a financial move that betters most people over the years and moves the chains more than almost anything else in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to live there while you're doing it. You don't get to live at the bank, right?
Yeah, right. They kick you out pretty quickly.
Yeah,
actually,
right, exactly.
I found that out. But I wanted to peel one thing you said. Jonesing for that.
Yeah.
But also not keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Very different.
The thing that popped in my head right there was, whether you're taking that stepping stone of that entry level home, which is, great. It might be a step down from living at your parents who've all of the things, they've got all the cool stuff right now, or living in a really awesome apartment might be a step down of what you're used to, that entry level home.
And in most cases should be. It should be a step down.
Right. But we also, I've got friends that, they developed their career. They knew that they were renters, and they actually really scaled down on their rent. They rented small places.
Yeah.
So that, when they were 42, when they bought their first house, it was $1 million house actually.
Yeah.
But they also developed their career first too.
Yes.
Knowing they sidestepped that building part to put all of their other finances in order to circumvent that step in home, or that first level home, to that step up home as their first one. Again, he's a doctor, but again, so it was kind of like dealing with, medical debt, or student loan debt, I should say,
Yeah.
and then building the practice up so he could get into that step up home. Again, there's different pathways, and there's a million different ways you can do it, and that's why we get passionate on each little subsection of it, which I kind of want to, almost end in, as we're coming up on like 20 minutes here, is one thing that we've been doing to really just have somebody dip their toes in is these educational webinars.
Yeah.
We talk about, what it's going to take to purchase a home. We kind of the ins and outs, and maybe some of the things that you want to avoid making some costly mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're settling on our schedule, but it's about every other week or so. But when we post this video, we're going to put a link to our very next one. Again, so it's one, we want to do our part to help educate you along the way. We don't just want to sell you a home. We want you
we
to
actually don't just want to sell you a home. There's way more to it than that, right?
Right. And again, so it's the educational part, answering your questions, and really just making that effort to make you the best, help you make the best decision that you can for your situation.
Very well said.
And sometimes that's not buying a home.
Yeah.
So only because we've seen it, we've seen a thing or two. So we know a thing or two about it.
Yeah,
So,
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird. In the same conversation I was talking about, the window conversation, the window guy that said, "Are you sure?" We have those same conversations, right? It's like, I don't know if it's quite right. In this conversation I was just having about the couple looking at a condo, part of that conversation that I didn't really relate to in that scenario, but we're going to run through some numbers, and we're going to figure out if it's smarter to rent for right now or not. How long are you planning on staying in this place? Because there's costs involved with buying and selling a house, right?
Yep.
And anything else in life. There's costs incurred in any of that stuff, right? So, it's not always the best time for everybody to buy a house. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
It's not always exactly the right time, but making a plan, having a plan, and following through on a plan, it's always the right time to do that.
Yeah.
Let's have a plan. Let's see where it's going to take us, and whether that means we're going to hurry up and go find a house right now because you're ready, you set yourself up for it, or we're going to slow things down a little bit and go, all right, did you do this? Did you do that? Did we do this next thing? Okay, now what does it look like to get to this type of situation you're looking for? Whether you're looking for that simple, just fine house as your first house, or your first house is that $1 million property that you're relating to as a client of yours, right? And neither one of those are the right answer or the wrong answer, but the plan is whether it's the right answer or the wrong answer. That doctor had a plan of buying the house that they wanted. This couple has a plan of buying the first house that they want. Simple, just small, nothing too major. The next plan is to have a place with a shop and all that. That was our conversation when we're looking at this house that has none of that stuff.
Yeah.
The goal is to get to that next spot, and having that plan and some goalposts along the way to keep you on track and to believe in the plan that you have in place makes all the difference in the world. And we're here for all of that. Not, like I said, not just to sell you a house, as you had mentioned. So,
yeah, couldn't have said it better myself, but I'm going to try anyway.
Yeah,
no,
right.
I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
exactly.
Tyler, it's great. It's a great topic, great educational part. So thank you for being here today. Why don't you, how can people find you?
I'm Tyler Loebertmann, North Star Pro Realty. You can call me, text me, email me. My email is TylerL, not Tyler, otherwise Tyler Reese will get it. He gets confused sometimes when there's a random topic that comes up, but TylerL at NorthstarProRealty.com or 763-221-1603 is my phone, so call, text, whatever. Or just swing into the office. We'll have a conversation, go from there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.